Welcome everybody back. Thank you for listening to callers, et cetera, et cetera. And we are joined by an independent candidate for U.S. Senate. He's been here before from the great state of Mississippi. Let me welcome community organizer, also an amazing human being and cousin of Tanya Pinkkins. We love that. Ty Pinkkins is back. Ty, hey.
Hey, Karen, happy to be here with you. Thank you for sharing the space.
Yeah, no, always, always. I've been saying for a long time we need to elect better people and we need to get involved. And we have had conversations with you about why you decided to roll up your sleeves. We talked, I think last week, the week before last, with Scott Colomb, who is also running. And I was curious, whether we're cannibalizing the vote. I think more is better.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your philosophy for staying in this race, and how do we get to having a senator from the great state of Mississippi, which has more black people than any other state per capita?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get somebody to represent the masses there?
Look, that's a great question. Those are great questions. And like you say, I'm a veteran. I served 21 years in our military, 3 combat tours, over 36 months at war. Was awarded the Bronze Star for my tour. My entire adult life has been in public service, from when I joined the military to retiring and working for presidents for both political parties, to coming back to Mississippi and suing businesses that have been cheating low-income workers out of their pay for decades and winning millions for those low-income workers. And then when I found out that the Mississippi Supreme Court districts were gerrymandered, I sued the governor, the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General. Won that too. So much so that this year, for the first time since 1989, we have to have Supreme Court district elections in Mississippi to give black voters a better chance to elect the candidate of their choice. So when people ask me why I'm in the race, my fundamental answer is this: we have to do something different. We cannot continue to do the same thing over and over again with these two political parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, voting for the same two parties and assuming that somehow something different is going to come out of that. We're going to get a different result. And so that's why I'm running as an independent, because I believe both parties have failed us. I don't think it's just the Democratic Party. I don't think it's just the Republican Party. I think leaders in both parties in Washington have failed us, and voters are looking for something different.
Well, parties are the people. So what you're saying is it's not, again, there was a time.
In both parties. That's why I said leaders in both
but I'm
parties.
saying there was a time when the Republicans were the party of Lincoln, and then there was a Southern strategy, and like the party just represents the collection of people inside the party. And I think, what we have done a piss poor job of doing is holding people accountable.
Right.
Period. All right. So what I'm looking at with Mississippi is, here's Cindy Hyde Park, or whatever the hell her name is, Cindy Hyde Smith, once again, running for, she beat out last time and won. She has been a horrible person for all people in Mississippi, now, especially black people in Mississippi. And she's poised to, this is a time, I think, when she's vulnerable in a country right now that is disgusted by everything that's going on, not just gas prices and food prices, whatever, but this war and all of the things that we can point to, Epstein, blah, blah, blah. She's vulnerable. And you being in the race as an independent, which I appreciate, because I think we have more choices, not fewer, you don't think that it creates an environment where you're giving Cindy Hyde Smith a better chance of winning?
You're talking about the split the vote argument.
No, I'm asking. Yeah,
that argument. And I've heard that argument from people across the state also. But here is my question: what vote are we really splitting? The last time a person, and I'm guilty of this also, running as a Democrat in Mississippi, because we're the blackest state in the country. But the last time a person running as a Democrat in the state of Mississippi won a United States Senate race was 1982. That was 44 years ago. There have been 15 United States Senate races in Mississippi since 1982. The Republican candidate has won all 15. And I'll give you one guess as to how many the Democratic candidate has won. We're talking about people like Ronnie Musgrove, who was a popular governor in 2004, Travis Childers, congressman, David Barrier, state representative, Mike Espy, representative and secretary of agriculture twice, me. All of those candidates are part of that 15 straight consecutive losses in the Democratic column. My question is, when do we try something different? Especially when you take into consideration the recent Gallup poll that says 45% of Americans consider themselves independents and only 27% consider themselves Democrats and 27% consider themselves Republican. When does a candidate get on the ballot in Mississippi as an independent and give voters a different option and say, hey, look, we have been losing for nearly a half century doing the same old thing. How about we take our votes and we join these people in the middle, these independents, to give ourselves a better option? So when people tell me, well, aren't you giving Cindy Hyde-Smith a better chance of winning? Nobody has to give Republicans anything in Mississippi. They won 15 straight races. They don't need any help. They don't need help from anybody. What we have to do is try to do something different.
And yet, though, Ty Pinkkins, on his face, I would agree with you. And I would go back in history to Ross Perot, whose independent run
93.
Absolutely impacted that election, right? And gave Bill Clinton a leg up. I would also take you to Ralph Nader, whose insertion into that election absolutely impacted the outcome, not in a good way, by the way. Shame on him. And then Jill Stein. I'm gonna throw her in there too for good measure. And in each of those cases, the outcome, I think, was dramatically impacted. I'm saying that we have a very slim margin right now. Mike Espy, his run, you ran, got 45. I think 45,000. What was it? 450,000 votes. And he got like 900,000 or whatever. We're looking at right now the electorate being so disenfranchised. And you're right. It's about turnout. It's about getting new voters.
Right.
Have you demonstrated that you are bringing in new people so that it's not taken away? Because Mississippi is still a very wildly racist state that Emmett Till lost his life.
We're polarized.
You telling me a black man is an independent and then there's a black man running as a Democrat? Come on now, Ty. Let's be realistic.
And here's the realistic point that I'm making right here. In 2023, a white man ran as a Democrat in Mississippi for governor, named Brandon Presley. The last name Presley ran statewide in this state as a Democrat. So you mean to tell me that if a white man, intelligent white man, named Presley, runs against one of the most unpopular governors in the country and still loses in Mississippi, the assumption is that a black man running as a Democrat in Mississippi statewide, having lost 15 straight United States Senate races, has an opportunity of winning rather than trying to do something different, something new as an independent candidate. And when we say we have to bring new voters to the polls, we have to get people turned out, I think that's a misguided argument. According to the United States Elections Assistance Commission, out of the 2.2 million Mississippians of voting age, 1.9 million are registered to vote. That's more than 80% of eligible Mississippians registered to vote. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, Mississippi has one of the highest voter registration rates in the country, behind only Minnesota at 83%, Oregon at 83%, New Jersey 82%, Mississippi is at 81%, and that's a direct outgrowth of the work that Fannie Lou Hamer did, the NAACP, the Divine Nine, all of that work that's been going on. These voters are here. And people say, well, they just don't turn out. Hold up, wait a minute. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, in 2024, Mississippi voter turnout was 68.9%, better than the national average of 65.3%, and higher than the turnout of over half the states in this country. So when people say we just need to keep doing the same thing over again and get more people registered, get more people to turn out, I agree with that. But we can't keep doing the same thing over again and assuming something's going to change. And that's why I'm running as an independent, to give people another option.
What kind of feedback are you getting? And listen, let me just say this with my full chest. Now is the time to do something different. Now is the time if we're ever going to do something different. So I cannot ever say, you're wrong, Ty. You're wrong, because you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm just like, we have a very short window to win, and that's a Senate seat that they are counting on. When I say they, I mean the horrible knuckle-dragging Neanderthals that are currently part of this regime. They're counting on that seat. If they don't get that seat, it will spell something. It will say something about where this country could go. And I'm concerned that in my mind, having talked with Scott Klum and I've talked with you many times. What if y'all came together and fought together the way I look at Mamdani in New York, right? And how, the person that was running right under him, number 2 in that ranked choice voting, which was a different system than what you're in, they actually ran together and then they gave everybody a plan for how to vote for each of them so that, Cuomo wouldn't win or Eric Adams or whatever. And it worked. It worked. But they ended up campaigning together.
Right. Here's the feedback. And because that was your first question, what is the feedback that I've gotten from this? And I know you're a solutions-oriented show. And so I want to give you the feedback and the solution. The feedback is this. In Mississippi, the 2 parties, they get to pay to get put on the ballot. Pay $1,000 as a Democrat, you get put on the ballot. You pay $5,000 as a Republican, you're on the ballot. That's it. As an independent, you have to go around the state to all 82 counties and tell people you're running as an independent and ask them to sign a petition standing in their doorway on their porch. Will you sign your name and print your name and your address and everything to give me permission to be on the ballot? And you got to get over 1,000 from around the state. And so that's what I did. I went and knocked on doors, asked people, Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And when you collect all those signatures, then you have to take them back to all those 82 respective counties, get them verified, wait a few weeks, then go back to all the counties, collect them, and then turn them in Jackson along with $1,000. So the candidate that has done the hard work asked people, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, can I get on the ballot? And they've said yes. That's the candidate that's in the race for the people, not these 2 parties, these 2 people that have just paid their way on. Solution. Here's the solution. Right now, there are 5 candidates around this country running. There's a guy in Idaho named Todd, Dan Osborne in Nebraska, Brian Beans in South Dakota, Seth Bonner in Montana, and Ty Pinkkins in Mississippi. What do we have in common? All of us are veterans. All of us are independents. All of us are running for the United States Senate against the Republican incumbent. And our goal is to deny either party, Republicans or Democrats, a majority in the United States Senate. And we have said we won't caucus with either party because if you don't have a majority, you have to talk to these 5 independent United States senators in the middle to move stuff forward like universal health care, to make sure that we're not getting in crazy wars, to make sure that we don't have an executive branch that's following behind someone like Benjamin Netanyahu and the country of Israel, getting us in trouble over and over and over again, to make sure that when a confirmation comes up to vote like Pam Bondi or Robert F. Kennedy, they don't get the rubber stamp. Now they have to show their resume. And you have 5 independents that say, we're not playing the same old game. And like, I agree with you. We have a short window. And in that short window, you don't do the same thing that's failed you 15 straight times and assume that it's going to be different on the 16th try. You try something different.
Okay. All right. So I'm assuming based on what you just said that you're not taking any APAC money.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I'm just being clear, Ty. I'm just being clear.
No, I don't. I think that's one of the biggest problems in our politics is that both leaders in both parties have their hands stuck in the cookie jar. They have their hands stuck in the big money cookie jar, and they cannot get it out. And that's including APAC money. That's money from the pharmaceutical industry. That's money from the gas and oil industry. That's money in the banking industry. And it's not just relegated to one party. We have to be honest. People, leaders in both parties have that problem, and that's why I don't accept their money.
Okay, and you don't think that if you band together with Scott, that you guys wouldn't have a better chance of beating Cindy Hyde-Smith?
I don't think whoever is running as a Democrat in the state of Mississippi is going to lose. I just explained that a person running as a Democrat...
But no independent has ever won. So you're acting like
well,
you're saying the Democrats ever won.
But that's not apples to apples. That's not apples to apples. There have been 15 Democratic candidates that's run over the last 44 years.
I get it. But there's
only
never
one
been
independent. Only one independent has run.
And did they win?
Only one. 15-1.
Did they win?
Doesn't
They
mean
did not
no,
win.
they didn't
They
win. They
got
weren't
trounced.
successful. But
Okay.
that doesn't mean
All
you
right.
keep doing the same thing over and over again.
I understand. I understand your point, and in your mind, it makes sense. I'm looking at numbers right now. I'm looking at numbers, and the numbers ain't adding up. But that's what, again, I'm not going to rain on your parade and tell you not to do it because I do respect you as a human being, and I think you're a good guy. I'm just looking at this is an opportunity here to actually win a seat that can convict this man that's in office right now, so we can have a government. But what do I know? Let's go to the phones.
Where's the opportunity if for 50 years there have been 15 consecutive losses? What opportunity are we talking about?
For 200 years, black people were enslaved and then they weren't.
Absolutely.
I hear this all the time. This is why I don't operate in this what can't happen thing, because until it happens, it's going to happen at some point. And do you stop? Do you quit because it has not happened?
Right.
No, we're going to keep fighting for freedom, even if we're still enslaved. We're going to keep fighting until it happens. So that argument is not washing with me.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
I hear you.
That we keep fighting, and part of keep fighting is evolving in the fight and saying that, hey, look, that hasn't worked for us in that particular posture. So now let's shift our voices, our votes, in order to join another group and try it a different way. So I'm not saying
you're not taking into account that Cindy Hyde Smith is vulnerable right now because of the current state of our union and who she's aligned with, and that there are millions and millions of people out in them streets. Oh shoot! All right, hold on. We got to go to break, and there's a caller. So you hold on. 866-801-8255 is the number. It's the Karen Hunter Show. Ty's sticking around. It's the Karen Hunter Show. We'll be back.
Divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
Welcome back. Hottest show in the galaxy. We are here on Sirius XM Urban View. We're talking powers becomes action. There's a seat running for the Senate in Mississippi, and the gentleman joining us right now is running as an independent for that seat. Ty Pinkkins is still here. We're having a conversation about why, and he's making his case, and it's valid. It's a valid case. I appreciate it. I think we need more good people running. I think you're a good man. I think that you care about your state, and I think you would do great things in Congress for no other reason that you could be held accountable. I think you are a little rigid, but I think you could be. I think you'll make the right decisions. But let's go to the voters. If you're from Mississippi, it's a good time to call. But Jay's calling from South Carolina, which he has no vote at all in your race, but he's got something to say. Jay, welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
Yeah, how you doing, Carol?
Karen.
I have a question for the young man. Sir, when I learned the southern states, the population, the black population, is very, they almost compete with the white population, almost the same. But what perplexes me is that how come the Republican parties always seem to win the seats like Senate? What it tells me is
all right, we can't do it. Jay, all right. I don't know if that. Did you hear him, Ty?
No, I didn't. I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah, me either. Jay, your line is jacked up.
Oh, my line is jacked up?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You go ahead. Just ask the question simply. Maybe we can get through it. Maybe I can translate.
The question is to him. Sir, first you got to go change the black people's minds in these states, because I got a feeling a lot of them are voting Republican.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So he thinks a lot of black people are voting Republican. That the mind frame is twisted, and that's what he thinks. How do you change the minds and the turnout? Like, how do we get more people to turn out?
I don't think the majority, that a lot of black people in Mississippi vote Republican. I think it's a fact that we are a polarized state, that our state is majority white, and a lot of those white people vote Republican, and we have a large proportion of black people in this state, and most of those black people vote Democrat. There are a lot of independents in the middle. So I don't think that's the case. But I think with regard to turnout, I'll point you back to my previous data point. Mississippi is ranked 21 with regard to turnout in 2024 at 68.9%, better than 29 other states. Mississippi, we have 82% of our eligible voters registered to vote. So the numbers are there. The issue is the strategy. Are we going to shift our strategy to try something new? Or are we going to continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? And that's not on the state level in Mississippi. That's on the national level also. Are we going to continue to entrust power in Congress to the same two parties that have gotten us to where we are right now? Or are we going to elect independents that are running all across this country for United States Senate, and those 5 states specifically, to go to Congress and hold the two parties accountable? And that's what we're collectively trying to do.
And again, I feel like you're getting caught up in these party things. And it's not. Do you think Scott Colomb is not a good candidate?
No, I think Scott Colomb is a great person. I think he's an accomplished person. I think but I
do too. That's what I'm like. I can see if he was horrible.
No,
Ty, let me just. I can see if he was horrible and you thought that you could do better.
I do.
Than him. Okay, you think you could do better than him? Why?
Absolutely. I think I know that I'm the better candidate for this race, not only because of my lifelong service in public service, from serving in the military to helping my community. I have the resume. What I think the difference is that we have another brilliant black man in Scott Colomb that's being fed to the same meat grinder that Mike Espy was fed to, that the former governor going through the same process.
He's not Mike Espy. I talked to him. I've talked to Mike Espy. Scott Colomb is not Mike Espy.
I'm not saying he's Mike Espy. I'm saying he's going through the same process that Mike Espy went through. I went through doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I'm saying that we have to shift
okay, let me ask you one more question. Do you because you had the same shot to run again as a Democrat. Mm-hmm. And I'm suspecting that they chose him over you. So this feels a little like...
Nope, that's not it. That's not it. I left the Democratic Party in July. Party in July of 2025. Scott Colomb did not announce his candidacy to run for United States Senate until October of 2025. So that is not factually accurate.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go back to the phones. I just feel like he's a good guy. So are you.
Karen,
why don't y'all want the twin power activate and take Cindy Hyde's ass out?
At no point during this conversation have I said Scott Colomb is a bad guy.
No, I know. This is what I know. You know he's a good guy, and I know you know you're a good guy. To me, it just makes more sense that just strengthen numbers as opposed to dividing the electorate in a race that is, to this point, such a pivotal one, this midterm, to get a Senate seat that is possible right now. Just seems to me like, Jesus, yes, your independent thing is amazing.
But
I think it's
right. I think this is where we disagree at. I think this is where you and I disagree at. That the only two options that voters should have on the ballot, even though it's close, and this is a very...
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, I don't think there should just be... I'm saying in Mississippi...
Yes.
Racist ass Mississippi, you got 2 black men on the ballot, and you're asking the voters to show up for both of y'all, and let this woman who has been nothing but a Trump boil out of his deposit, has been nothing but a Trump deposit. I just think that there's an opportunity here to come together and actually win for Mississippi, as opposed to asking me as a voter from Mississippi to divide because I think Ty's good and I think Scott is good. And okay, I want to be independent, and letting this woman just tap dance her ass right into Congress again. To me, I'm like, no. But that's, I don't live there.
Voters get to make a choice.
Yes, they do. Okay. All right, let me go.
This person gets one vote. And they get to choose in this election whether we continue to do the same thing or whether we try something new. That is it.
All right. Let's go to Tanya in Mississippi. Let's hear from the people in Mississippi. Hear what they think. Hey, Tanya.
Hey, Karen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. And hello to Mr. Pinkins.
Hey, Tanya.
I hope I'm a Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
I am good. I am afraid. I'm going to be honest with you. I am afraid about two black men, distinguished black men, running for Senate in Mississippi. I do feel like it's going to split the vote down to the middle and give a pathway for Cindy Hyde-Smith, who we do not need back in the Senate. And then also, too, we do not have, now I don't know too many black people in my circle that vote Republican. And I don't know what that caller from North Carolina was talking about.
They weren't from Mississippi, so they didn't know.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah. But anyway, the problem is that we have a low voting turnout, especially when it comes to the youth.
Mm-hmm.
People my age, I'm 55 and older, maybe in their 30s and beyond. We go out and vote, but the younger people, they're disinfected. I hope disinfected. I hope I'm saying the right word. But anyhow, but yeah, I'm afraid that if y'all are going to do something, y'all going to have to reach the young people to get a larger turnout. But yeah, I'm very impressed by you. I'm afraid I never heard of you before. I know Scott Cologne because he's from Columbus. I'm from Columbus as well. But I've never heard of you before, and I like your spirit. I like your sense of determination, and I'm sure you'll do a good job. But I'm really afraid that there's going to be a split in the middle unless there's a large mobilization catered to black voters, especially young black voters.
Tanya, I hear you. I do. And your concern with regard to the split the vote argument, that's a valid concern. You should be concerned about that. But what I think we should be more concerned about is what I said before. If we've done something 15 straight times and assuming that on the 16th try that it's going to change. That's the biggest.
That's sounded very broken record-ish.
Yeah, it is, but it's
so you keep saying that.
I understand it's the broken record, but those are facts. That's data.
That's not a fact because the 17th time could be the victory. You don't know either.
Okay, the 19th
you don't
time
know.
Could be the victory. The 20th time could be the victory.
It could be. What we know for sure is
don't have time to wait and continue to
so
do the same thing
you think you
have
again. You think you're gonna get 700,000 independent votes? Because that was the last number, I think, Ballotpedia in the last election.
That was a general election count.
Election, which is coming up in November, which you're going to be in, right?
That was a presidential year. In an off-presidential year, the votes that you'll need to get would be somewhere around 500 and something thousand. That was in 2020. That was a presidential year. Mike Espy got 430-something thousand votes.
You got 451,000.
I got 451,000 votes.
During the presidential year.
But my point is this. I'm not saying Scott is a bad person. I'm not. He's a brilliant dude. I just disagree on the strategy. I think we're trying to get to the same place. We're just trying to get there in a different way.
Correction, Mike Espy in 2020 got 578,000 votes. 578,000. Yeah. All right. Let's you were in 1-2. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go stay in Mississippi because we want to hear from people there. Oh, Jay, come on. Jay just hung up. All right. So let's go to Shay. Shay thinks you're right, and she's in Virginia, even though she can't vote in Mississippi. Shay?
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I think, hey, Karen, hey, Ty, I think both things are true, honestly. Karen, I do think there is something to be said about two black men splitting the black vote in Mississippi. I think that's a problem. However, Ty, I do think the strategy is what we need because truth of the matter is, like, Karen, women of a certain age, I'm in my early 40s, but I would say, Gen Xers, boomers, you guys out there voting and protesting, no King's rallies. These young people are not engaged because all they see is the D and the R. And then you got to think, racist people going to be racist regardless. So,
Correct.
I mean, like, I'm with him. They're going to vote red. That's just what they're going to do. But if we give them a different option and we give them an option. So you don't have to be a blue Democrat, but you could be wrong with the independents.
Listen.
Honestly, because think about Mamdani.
Okay.
He shocked everybody.
Yeah, but Shay, this ain't that. This ain't that, number one. Okay, you're right. But it's not, because neither one of these brothers are Mamdani-like, again, from that generation, that 20 to 30-something-year-old who was out in them streets, who's a Muslim, who's hip-hop, Mamdani was everything to everybody. That's not this. So with all due respect, number one. Number two, Mamdani was a Democrat. Cuomo was the independent. Mamdani was actually a Democrat, and the Democrats did not want him. Okay, and he won anyway. He ran as a Democrat. He is a Democrat in the city of New York. Okay, Shay. So Mamdani didn't run as an independent. That independent thing has not borne any fruit because there hasn't been a good enough movement. And so I like that Ty is creating that in this space. But I'm just saying, with this particular election, is this the proper time to, instead of coming together? You're saying yes, Ty. I'm not sure. I don't live in Mississippi, but hey.
But I mean, when we look at what Gallup just released, 45% of this country identifies as independents.
Correct.
27%,
and that has only worked out in Maine or Vermont.
27%.
Two states out of 50 have actually manifested. Hold on. Two states have manifested anybody significantly who was an independent. And I can think of them off the top of my head. We got Bernie Sanders, and who was it? Joe Lieberman. And who else? That's it.
And Bernie Sanders came into office when
Angus King. Thank you, Smith.
When Bernie Sanders came into office, and Joe Lieberman, and the gentleman that ran as an independent president, Ross Perot, back in the early 90s. Well, Bernie Sanders was way before then. But in the early 90s, only 23% of this country identified as independents. Today, in 2026, 45% of the country identifies as independents. So we can't base it off of Bernie Sanders when he first came into office. We can't base it off of Joe Lieberman nor when Ross Perot ran. That was a whole different demographic setup.
Okay. I'm just still not seeing Ross Perot, the dynamism. Again, sir, at some point we're going to have to be self-aware enough to, like, that generational. Bernie Sanders in many ways is a generational type of campaigner. He speaks to people in a way that resonates to the 20-year-olds to the 70-year-olds. There's across racial bounds. He can pull people in. Ty, I haven't seen you do that.
That's what being an independent is. I'm not talking about black voters. I'm not talking about white voters. I'm not talking about red voters nor blue voters. I'm appealing to all voters across all aisles.
Okay. All right. Let me take Reggie in Tennessee and then Keith in Arizona after that. Just listen to the people. Hi, Reggie.
Hi, Dr. Hunter. First time call.
Just Karen. Hi. Welcome.
Okay, Karen. I appreciate that. Yeah, so listen, I agree with Shay. I think it's both and this is some difficult territory that we're trying to face. I'm in Memphis, tri-state area, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, and I know this area all too well. But Karen, what I want to understand, because I'm not clear yet from you, if it's not the approach that he's taking in this particular election, what is the approach? Because, again, 15 consecutive times a Republican has won. So what do we do to win?
Okay, let me ask you. I wish he had run as a Republican against Cindy Hyde Park. Like, if you really about that life?
No,
it's too late for that.
I wouldn't do that.
Too late for that.
Yeah,
because it doesn't matter. R's and D's don't matter. You just told me that, right? So if it doesn't matter, then run with your policies and hamper her. Mm-hmm. Give us a chance to get somebody in there that cares about human beings. That's what I would have liked to see.
Well, I think that's what Scott and I are doing. Scott and I are giving black voters an opportunity to make a choice. And when people say you're going to split the black vote, and here's what I hear. That implies that there's a group of black voters that want to vote for someone other than the Democrat and the Republican. And when people say you're going to split the black vote so the independent candidates should get out, so does that mean you should silence that group of black voters that don't want to vote for the D or the R? Their vote doesn't matter? That's not democracy. No.
Okay.
Voters
All
get
right.
an opportunity to go to the polls and vote for the candidate of their choice.
That is valid. That is valid. Reggie, thank you for your call. Appreciate that. Renee, in Tennessee. I said Keith. Keith in Arizona. Welcome. And then we'll come back to the R's in Tennessee. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Karen. This is Keith. First time caller, Karen.
Okay. Well, welcome. Hi.
Yeah. And I'm listening. What happened? I'm listening to this conversation. I'm getting all riled up, and I'm trying to calm down a little bit because just make it real quick. I've been involved in politics since I was 16 years old, and I'm 65 years old, and I've been involved in campaign managers, writing policy, legislation, all of that, right? And the problem that I see in this election in Mississippi is that this election in Mississippi, this whole country is not about Republican and Democrat, it's good versus evil. And this is a situation, we're in a situation now where all the good people need to get together. All the good people need to be aligned to go against evil. And this race in Mississippi, you got two goods splitting up. When two goods could get together and fight the evil that's going on in this country, that's going on in the state of Mississippi. And this is a problem that we see in times when it's good times or bad times. We have public officials that are more interested in them being in that particular position than looking at the whole political spectrum and say, hey, well, it's a good person in that, so let me run for this. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong with that person because he did mention that they both are trying to get to the right place. He mentioned that this other candidate was a very intelligent candidate. So let him run that and you run for something else because there's enough offices out there where we need really good people to run. And just the same thing happened in Texas. I know everyone was rooting for the senator that was in and with the representative that was in, and other guys running for Senate. He backed out and she got into the race. Whereas, hey, maybe she should look to something else. He got started, and it's just too many offices that we need to run for, that good people need to be in, to where we have to fight over one particular office. You're right. It's not about party. Right now, it's about good versus evil.
Okay. I actually am aligned with that thought. Let's take Renee in Tennessee, and then we'll have Ty say the last word. Hey, Renee.
Hi, Ty. Hi, Karen.
Hey,
Ty, this
Renee.
is your good friend, Renee Taylor. Hey, Karen. Everybody's behind Ty. I'm in Tennessee. We need something different. We need everybody to try. My husband is in Tennessee trying. His name is on the ballot for District 8 in Tennessee. Ty, keep doing what you're doing. We have to try something different if we're going to knock these bad guys out. I agree. He can't keep doing the same thing. We can't have the same mindset. We got to try something new. And the gentleman that just called, he's right. Let everybody get out there and do something. We got enough smart, brilliant black people to knock these guys out. It's
So
time for them
what Keith said
get out.
is get behind the guy that's already there, and then Ty can run for something else. That's what I heard Keith say. Renee, why not band together with the guy that's already on that ticket and make sure that Cindy Hyde Park Smith has all of the smoke she can get?
But Karen, that's not factually accurate. I was on the ballot before Scott Cologne was on the ballot. I was already there. I've already ran this. I've been around this state
That's what I'm saying.
2 times, 82
But
years.
I'm looking at the amount of money both of you raised, Ty, being honest, and the amount of what the polling is saying, Ty, because I did look, and I'm not going to go. He's right now got more support than you do, both financially and numbers.
The money is the problem. We can't say as voters that we want money out of politics. And we go and vote for the same two parties.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But you brought up Ross Perot, who was a billionaire, who was able to throw. You know what I'm saying? The money right now needs to be out, but it's not. Right now, money matters, and you haven't been able to raise enough to even be able to make that case. And I appreciate what Renee is saying. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Karen, the money is people donating to you, right?
I get your argument. I understand your argument. But I don't want the money. People need a different option. People need a third option that's not tainted by the money. You can't sit here and say that you want the same two parties that do the same things and then say, well, we got one that doesn't do that. That's the one that should run. That doesn't make sense.
but this is the world that we're in
I
right
understand.
now. Okay. All right. Let me take last call, Smith. I promise. X is in Mississippi, and I'm only taking the call because they're in Mississippi. They got a dog in this race. X, thank you for calling. You're on with Ty Pinkkins. Hi.
Hey, Karen.
Hey.
Hey, Todd. Look, I just wanna tell you something, Todd, real quick.
His name
I
is
know
you're
Ty.
independent.
T-Y. T-Y.
Huh?
His name is Ty. T-Y.
Ty. My bad, Ty.
No problem.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something real quick. I know you run as an independent, but you might as well put an R in front of that and scratch that I out, because what are you doing right now is that you are placing a MAGA Republican back in there. And I understand, you feel like because you are quote unquote independent that you're gonna change things. You're not gonna change the system, man. And then with the independent, we don't know which way you're gonna swing. We don't know if you're gonna get in there and keep Trump in there. It's all about numbers right now. And what are you doing right now? You sabotaging the possibility of a black man getting in, because the simple fact that for some reason you didn't make the cut on the Democrat Party. That's all I got to say. I understand that the big picture is that we are up against racism right now. And I'm from Texas, so I'm from the state where the second per capita have more black people than any state in the United States. And you know what? Even if they turn out in full numbers in Mississippi with all the black folks in Mississippi, all you're gonna do is make half, and then it's gonna bring that racist white woman back in there. And that's all I got. But you need to hear that from a person who actually knows the big picture of we're battling racism, white supremacy now at the highest level in our face. And it's not the time for you to come and try to convince these black folks that you have a change, which is no change. That's all I got.
Well,
Okay.
thank
All
you
right,
so
X.
much for sharing it. I really appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Ty, no matter what happens, I'm gonna love you. We still gonna talk. I don't agree with this, but you have every right to do this, and I appreciate you coming here today to answer these questions.
I appreciate you having me, Karen. And if anybody wants to support my campaign, you can go to typinkins.com. TY, P as in Paul, INKINS.com.
All right.